questions 11 through 20 on the 2002 Grade 10 Cayley Math Contest. In the diagram, the line with equation y equals 2x minus 8 crosses the x-axis at A and the y-axis at B. The area of AOB is. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what is the x-coordinate right here and what is the y-coordinate right there. If we can do that, we'll be able to figure out the area. So our equation of that line is y equals 2x minus 8. So first we need the y-intercept or the x-intercept, either way. Let's find the y-intercept, and we do that by setting x equal to 0. So that means y is equal to 2 times 0 minus 8, and therefore y is equal to minus 8. So that means this coordinate right here is 0 minus 8, b. So that means that this distance is 8. We can't have a negative distance, right? So the distance has to be positive. Now let's figure out the other point that crosses the x-axis, and that would be the x-intercept. How do you get the x-intercept? Well, you set y to 0. So setting y to 0, we have 0 is equal to 2x minus 8. That means 8 is equal to 2x, and therefore x is equal to 8 over 2, which is 4. So this point is 4, 0, and that means that this distance is 4. So we've got a triangle with sides 4 and 8, and we can find the area. 1/2 base times height, like that. Either one base can be 4, so call it 4, and the height can be 8. And there you go, 32 divided by 2, which is 16. So number 11, the answer is B. A compact disc originally sells for $10. If the price of the compact disc is increased by 40%, and this new price is later decreased by 30%, what is the final price? Some of you that are young may not even know what a compact disc is, also known as a CD. Back before the internet was in existence, we had to buy music on a CD. And now I don't even know if these even exist anymore. So here we go, back to the original question. $10 was increased by 40%. So you have to multiply that by 1.4, like that. And if you do, you get $14. Then this new price is decreased by 30%. So if it's decreased by 30%, it means that it's down to 70% of its value. So you multiply by 0.7. And when you do that, 0.7 times 14 is 9.80. So the new price after these two changes is $9.80, which is A. In the diagram, ABC represents a triangular jogging path. Jack jogs along the path from A to B to F. So he's going this way here, like that. And then Jill jogs from A to C to F. So she goes A to C to F, like that. Each jogs the same distance, the distance from F to B. So basically what I drew in purple is the same as the red, and we want to find FB. So from F to B, let's call that X, that distance. And then we are going to need to know CB, the full hypotenuse. The good news is that they have given us the other sides, so we can use Pythagoras to figure out CB. Like that. So here we go. We got 14400 plus 25600 is equal to CB squared. And then that is 40,000 is equal to CB squared. And therefore CB is equal to 200. So this whole distance is 200. So that means this CF is 200 minus X. since I denoted FB to be x. Now remember, the distances that they jog are the same. So that means that the red path that I drew for Jill, 120 plus 200 minus x, is the same as the purple path that I drew for Jack. So that's 160 plus x. So now we just solve this mathematical equation. So we've got 320 minus 160 is equal to 2x. 2x is equal to 160, and therefore x is equal to 80. So x represents FB, and that is what they want us to figure out. So 13, the answer is D. If A times C plus D plus B times C plus D is equal to 42, and C plus D is 3, what is the value of A plus B plus C plus D? So let's plug in these numbers and see what we get. So they tell us that C plus D is equal to 3. So let's plug that in here and here. So that will be A times 3 plus B times 3 is equal to 42. So we got 3A plus 3B is equal to 42. We can factor out a 3, A plus B like that, and therefore A plus B will be equal to 42 divided by 3, which is 14. Now they want us to figure out A plus B plus C plus D. Well, A plus B, these first two guys, is 14, and then C plus D, we know from up there, is 3. So there you go. 17 is the answer to number 14. And that would mean choice D. In the grid shown, it is only possible to travel along an edge in the direction indicated by the arrow. The number of different paths from A to F is. So let's see what we get. So we're starting from A, correct? We want to go to F. So let's see. First, A, D, E, F. A, D, E, F. That's our first path. Now what's another way of getting there? A, E, F. That will do it. And next, I think we've exhausted going down D and E. That's already done. There's no other way. So now let's go across. A, B, C, F. A, B, C, F. That'll do it. And then A, B, E, F. And I think one more. A, B, F, like that. And I think that's it. I don't see any other way of getting to F, unless you're going backwards or something like that. But all that stuff is not allowed. You can only go in the directions of these arrows. So 5 possible paths, and therefore number 15, the answer is B. If the product of 4 consecutive positive integers is 358,800, then the sum of these 4 integers is. So we have n plus 1, n plus 2, and n plus 3 is equal to 358,800, like that. Now, where do you go from here? Do you expand this out and get a 4th degree polynomial and all that stuff? And no, you don't have to do that. This is really what you call a trial and error type of question. There's no magic formula here. You're going to have to do a little bit of plugging in and experimenting. But there is some shortcuts. You're taking 4 numbers that are very close to each other. They're consecutive positive integers, and you're multiplying them, and you're getting this big number, right? But since they are so close to each other, we can kind of call each of them n. Now, this is not going to give you the 100% solution, but it'll give you approximately, and then that will help us. So that means we have n to the power of 4, if you're multiplying them, right? Is equal to 358,800. 800. Now if you take the fourth root of that, which you can easily do on a calculator, and calculators are allowed on the Canadian math exams, you'll be able to get n. N is going to be approximately 24.4, something like that. Now, that doesn't really help us, or does it? I think it helps us, because we know that n is about in that range. It's obviously an integer because they've told you that in the question. So n is probably 24, n could be 25, n might be 23. It's going to be around that vicinity. So we can use that fact to experiment. So let's say n is 24. All right? So let's see if this works out. If n is 24, it would have 24 times 25 times 26 times 27 as our 4 integers. And if you do that, you'll get 421,200. Does that match that? Unfortunately, it doesn't. But that's okay. No problem. 24 didn't work, right? So I'm going to try 23. Correct? Why did I go lower? Because this number was higher, correct? So obviously, I want a lower number. So let's try 23 as n. 24 times 25 times 26, like that. And if you do that, you get 358,800. There you go. So you see how there's no magic formula. It's just an approximation. And then you use trial and error to figure this out. So don't get discouraged. Don't think that, oh, I don't know how to do it, and just give up and, move on to the next question. If you, figure this out, get an approximate number, and then do trial and error, you'll be able to figure it out. So what do the question want? What do they want? The sum of these 4 integers. Okay, so these are our 4 integers. So they want the sum. 23 plus 24 plus 25 plus 26. And that is equal to 98. So number 16, the answer is B. A double single number is a 3-digit number made up of 2 identical digits followed by a different digit. For example, 553 is a double single number. How many double single numbers are there between 100 and 1000? So they want numbers that are 101 to 999 inclusive. All right? It doesn't really matter if you included 100 and 1000, because 1000 is not even a 3-digit number and 100 is not going to, help us. But just to be precise, those are the numbers. So what kind of scenario do we have in a number here? Let's examine this. 2 digits that are the same and then a 3rd digit that's different. So what I'm going to do is, instead of looking at this as a whole, it might be a little overwhelming, just break it up into 100 segments. So 101 to 199, okay? And then so on like that, 200 to 299, 300 to 399, and then you probably will get a pattern pretty quickly. So you certainly won't have to do all of them, and so on, okay? So you got the 500s, the 600s, the 700s, the 800s, and then the 900s, okay? Those kinds of numbers in those categories. So the first one, a number that's between 101 and 199, those numbers obviously all start with 1, and therefore the next digit has to be a 1 in order to be a double single. It's got to be 2 of those. And then the 3rd digit can be anything as long as it's not a 1. So let's write out possible values. We have 110. 111 is not allowed, right? Because that would be, I guess, a triple. So 112 is allowed. 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, and finally 119. These are double singles according to the criteria in the question. And how many of them are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got 9. All right. So we got 9 for this category. Now let's go over to the next one. 200 to 299. First digit is going to be a 2 in this category. Second digit has to be a 2 in order to become a double single number. And very similarly, the last digit can be any digit except 2, right? Has to be a different digit. So let's list them. 220, 221, 222. No, we can't have that because that would not fit the criteria. But 223 will, and so on. 224, 225, 226, 227, 228, 229, and that's it, right? So let's count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So another 9. And very similarly, this will have 9, this will have 9, and all of them will have 9. 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. Like that, okay? So in total, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 times 9. So that's 81. So number 17, the answer is A. In the diagram, triangle ABC is isosceles with AB is equal to AC and AG is perpendicular to BC. Point D is the midpoint of AB. Point F is the midpoint of AC. And E is the point of intersection of DF and AG. What fraction of the area of ABC does the shaded area represent? There are many ways of doing this question, actually. There's a very simple way. There's a little bit more complicated. I'm going to sort of give you the average solution. I don't want to do the very simple way because that doesn't really explain it. The very simple way is basically you draw lines from D to G and F to G, and then you say, let's draw a perpendicular from D down to there and F down to the base. And then you say that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, those 8 triangles that I just created are all equal. And therefore the shaded one is just 1/8 of them. So the answer is E, right? And that is completely legitimate solution. But I want to explain it a little bit. I don't want to just say, okay, well, there you go. Next question. Because I don't think that would be a sufficient explanation for the majority of people that are learning this for the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a perpendicular from D down to the base like that, and F down to the perpendicular like that. Now, one very important point is that when you have the midpoint D of any line, but in this case it's AB, it obviously cuts AB in half, right? That is going to be equal to that, and they've even shown you that with these little lines there, showing you that those are going to be equal in distance. But when you drop a perpendicular from D the way I did, it will cut this line also in half. All right? So if BG, for example, was 10, this will be 5. You see what I'm saying? Now, we don't know any of the distances, so I'm just going to call it Y. I don't know if it's 10 or 7 or whatever. And very similarly, on the other side, it's also Y and Y, because AG is a perpendicular in a isosceles triangle, right? This is isosceles. And I think they even tell you that. Yeah, AB equals AC. AB equals AC. So it is isosceles. So I've now labeled my base. Now, let's label these guys right here, DE and EF. Well, that's very straightforward. It's basically what I labeled in the bottom. This distance is the exact same as that distance. So DE is also Y, and very similarly, FE is the same as that distance there. So FE is also Y. Okay? So this is directly, from the fact that this is an isosceles triangle and that D and F are midpoints. And now what I'm going to do is concentrate on AG, that height, I guess. Whatever AG is, the fact that D and F are midpoints, if you drew a line that is across, it cuts AG in half because D and F are midpoints. So if this distance from top till DF is, say, x, that means the distance from E to G is also x. Okay? So that these are all standard based on the fact that midpoints will cut the lines in half. So now let's figure this out. Area of the shaded region, AS, all over the area of ABC, like that. So area of S is 1/2 base, which is y, times height, which is x. And area of ABC is 1/2 the base, which is 4y, times the height, which is 2x. And therefore, this is going to be 1/2 xy all over 1/2 8xy, like that. And then the halves cancel, the xy's cancel, and all you're left with is 1 over 8. So number 18, the answer is E. The sum of the digits of the integer equal to that big long thing squared minus another big long number squared is. Okay, so, oh boy, 777, 777, 777, and so on. Squared minus 222, 222, another set of 2's, and then be very, very careful. This last digit is a 3. If you miss that, you'll get the question wrong. All the more reason to pay very close attention to details on math contests. All right. Well, how do you approach this? Do we expand this? Well, no. I hope you remember a property. If you have a squared minus b squared, that is equal to a plus b minus times a minus b, right? I hope you remember that one. So that is basically what form this is in. It's in the form a squared minus b squared. So I'm going to put it in that form. A plus b times a minus b. So my a looks like, I got to write this whole thing out again. So there you go. I wrote it all out. So this plus that and this minus that, entirely to make it look like that. Okay? So nothing, no fancy tricks, just this formula right there. All right, so the first one, I can add those. It looks like it'll add up to a big long number. We got, I think this is 1 quadrillion. Let me write it out first and then verify how many zeros, right? So this is millions, this is billions, this is trillions, this is quadrillion, a number that isn't really used much. So we got 1 quadrillion multiplied by another big long number, but you're subtracting 2's every time, so that's pretty straightforward. 5, 5, 5, and so on. All right, now be careful with the very last digit. It was 7 minus 3. That's why that's a 4. So at this point, I hope you understand that if you multiply any number by a whole bunch of zeros, it just adds all those zeros at the end, correct? So this basically becomes this number 555, this big long number, with a whole bunch of zeros at the end. And in our case, the number of zeros is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 zeros. So 0, 0, 0, like that. 15 of them. 0, 0. Now we're done. We've created the number fairly quickly. I mean, it took a little bit of time. Now they want the sum of the digits of this big long number. Well, the sum of the digits, we don't have to worry about these because those add up to 0. So we just have to add up these numbers. Quick way of doing that, how many 5's do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 5's. So it'll be 14 times 5 and plus that lone 4 right there. So that looks like 70 plus 4, which is 74. So that's the sum of the digits of that big long number. So 19 is C. 2 cylindrical tanks sit side by side on a level surface. The first tank has a radius of 4 meters, a height of 10 meters, and is full of water. The second tank has a radius of 6 meters and a height of 8 meters and is empty. Water is pumped from the first tank to the second until the depth of the water in both tanks is the same. The depth of water in each tank in meters is. So first, let's draw a diagram. So here is a diagram of two cylindrical tanks, and the first one is going to be filled with water all the way to the top, and we are given certain values for radius is 4, and the height of the first one is 10. And the second one, the radius is 6, and the height is 8. All right. So then what happens is the water is pumped from the first tank to the second, right? And the depth of the water in both tanks then becomes the same. That's how they do this. So I guess we'll represent that as the depth, like that. And this is all now going to be water inside. And they want us to figure out what is this height. So this height right here, from here to here, that one. And they're saying that they do it in a way so that both of those are the same. So we'll just call it HS, height same. All right? You can call it anything really, but just wanted to indicate that those heights are the same. Okay, so that's the setup. And how do we proceed? I call this volume 1, and we'll call this volume 2. All right? The volumes are not necessarily the same. The heights are the same. All right, so just remember that. The very first thing I need to do is figure out the total volume, VT. Initially, all of that water was in that first tank. It was initially full of water. And then we pumped water out of it into the second tank to make it look like this scenario. So the initial first tank had a water that's all the way to the top. So that volume is going to be pi r squared. The volume of a cylindrical tank is pi r squared times height. Okay? So in this case, we are really looking at the first tank. So this is 1 and this is 1 in terms of our values. So R1 is 4, and then H1 is 10, like that. So this becomes 16 times 10, 160 pi. That's the total volume of the water. Now we turn our attention to this scenario. In this scenario, we have two individual volumes, V1 and V2. Now they add up to 160 pi, right? Because none of the water has been lost. None of it has spilled out. We just made a transfer. But when we make a transfer, each of these will have different values in terms of the radius and the height. But the good news is that they are telling us that the height is the same. So let's just use our standard formula. Pi R1 squared times height, but height in this case is HS, right? And then the second one, pi R2 squared HS is 160 pi. Okay? So no mistake so far, hopefully. The pi's cancel throughout the entire equation. So now we'll just plug in values for R. R1 is 4, HS. R2 is 6, HS. And 160. Okay? So this becomes 16 HS plus 36 HS is 160. HS, of course, meaning height same, the orange variable. So 16 plus 36 is 52, and that equals 160, and therefore HS is equal to 160 over 52. 160 over 52 is our height. All right, none of the answer choices, so basically I've got to reduce this to lowest terms. So let's see, divide top and bottom by 4, so that would give me 40 and 13, and that would mean E. There you go. So the depth of the water in each tank in meters is 40 over 13.